She started the recording. All right. Scott?
Hey, awesome to see everybody. Super stoked to have you here. Wanted to see, did Kate have something? No? Yep. Oh, wait, we're good. We are so stoked to be sharing with you guys this Google Workspace admin briefing. We've got an amazing team together for you guys with some super amazing topics to jump into. Real quick, if you guys don't know who we are Trafera. We support instructional technology. We are passionate about seeing the power of technology and the impact that can have in students. And we just love being a part of that conversation. And really kind of the way that sums up who we are. And it's really a philosophy that I believe in from when I was a tech director and I was a principal. It's that concept of the right technology with the right support equals a bright future. It's saying it's not just about the fact that you have cool tech. We all know that just because you have something cool doesn't mean it has the impact. It's really layering on that support layer. And we want to be partners with that through whatever that might look like, from white glove services, warranty services, training, professional development, leadership, whatever that looks like. That's what we want to be. And that's what I love being part of this team. So as we get into that, quick introductions, this is amazing. My name is Scott Chenard. I'm one of the top middle ones there. And my background, 15 years in education. I was a special education teacher for a number of years. Then I was a tech coordinator. Then I was a middle school principal. Finished out 2 years ago as a director of technology. Moved my family from California to Texas, and I've been doing this. Absolutely love it. 2 years ago, I like to say I went from a very happy Trafera customer to even a happier Trafera employee, where I get to talk to people about their technology implementation. I'm going to toss it over to Lindsay for a quick intro for her.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Keeley. I'm a teaching and learning consultant. I am from Lafayette, Louisiana. I am a former elementary educator, technology facilitator, and then supervisor of technology for Lafayette. And in Louisiana, you can retire with 20 years. It's a baby retirement. So I retired at 20 years, and I get to go around and do what I love, which is professional development. Sorry, you guys. It's not impressive, I promise. So I'm just happy to be here with you guys.
All right. How about John?
Yeah, popcorn over to me. I'm John Hill, and I'm the Google subject matter expert at Trafera, and I'm also a teaching and learning consultant like Lindsay and Scott and Corey. And this is my first admin briefing with all of you, and I'm super excited to be here. And hopefully, I'll be here on these calls in the future. And yeah, so I was a teacher though for 17 years, taught special education. I was a reading interventionist and an administrator. The other Traferians on this call are much more technically intelligent and sound. I'm just coming at it from like talking about teacher stuff. So thank you for having me, and I will I'll speak when I can speak relevantly. And off to Corey.
All right, Corey Klang. Apologies for the transition snafu there, but here's a beautiful slide. Former IT director for Richfield Public Schools here in Richfield, Minnesota, and prior to that, tech integrationist, and then what I'm most proud of in my career is a classroom teacher for 12 years. So trying to channel and continue that dedication to education. So excited about that. So I'll hand it back over to Scotty. He's got a question for you today.
Yeah. Also on this call, probably we do have some technical teams. These are amazing people: Rusty Richards, Aaron Voss, and Alex Busby. If you are in a place where you need some additional support or anything like that from audits, or you want to get into the weeds, these people are absolutely incredible, and they absolutely know their stuff. So don't let us know how we can support you. But yeah, as we get started, I do want to kind of hear about what you guys are working on this summer. And really, and the reason for that is I get I've been out of that seat for a couple of years now, but I really would love to hear if you could toss in the chat, what are your biggest priority areas of work this summer to prepare you for success for next year? Maybe you're updating your infrastructure. Maybe you're rolling out new tech tools, enhancing some digital curriculum. Maybe you're working on a plan to tackle AI implementation, or maybe it's something else entirely. But we'd love to hear that. I hear that. I'll tell you, for me, I am becoming obsessed with this concept of AI, the implications of that, and how can we partner with schools to develop the training and the materials for that. I'm just right there, can't get it out of my head. So this is awesome. I love, Sherry, trying to figure out how to get 50 new Chromebooks. I hear you. Budgeting things and getting that is right there. I love that, Heather. Cleaning up your accounts. If you need any assistance with that, please let us know. We'd love to help you with that. Awesome. Well, I do encourage you, as we're getting into this, keep that chat going. We're going to be monitoring the chat. We're going to be responding to those questions, and we will be at the end. We'll also have a time of Q&A. So that would be amazing. I'm going to pass it over to my buddy Corey now, who's really going to get into the meat and potatoes and talk about all the new things happening in the Google world.
So thank you. And as we get into the main component of the webinar today, which is our admin briefing, I did want to say that I appreciate some of those comments coming in, and cybersecurity was one that I saw a couple of times. And Google continues to dedicate themselves to building a cybersecurity posture as a school district, as an educational entity, whatever that may be, and giving you the tools that you need to be able to make your district and your school environment more secure. So with that being said, let me jump into talking about just a couple of new features. Again, just as a reminder of the format of this webinar, we give you updates on a monthly basis. So these are the updates that Google published in June. I'm going to preview one that came out at the very beginning of July that we'll talk about next month, but just kind of as a reminder that that's how that works. First one I'm really excited about personally, and because I've seen this in my personal Gmail account, and that is just a digest, an automatic digest email. So basically, if you're out of work for a while, meaning like on vacation or taking some PTO for whatever reason you may do so, or you're on your personal Gmail accounts, you just don't get in that often, you'll get these automatic digest emails that'll give you information about files that have either you've been tagged on, or there is a comment added that's in a document that you created, or a document has been shared with you. And these digest emails then will just give you a little bit of an overview of what happened in the last week, so that you don't have to worry about missing something. So just a really nice additional new feature. And this is for all editions of Google Workspace. And it includes information about the unviewed files that were shared with you, and a link to see more activity on the Drive activity page. So really just a nice little feature built in to help bring people up to speed on what they might have missed. Okay, when we're talking Google Drive, one really exciting update that I was trying out this morning that gives administrative controls as well. And by the way, you have to have Education Plus or carry Education Plus for this particular feature. But you can now, within a Google Doc, and you can request e-signatures, and you can do so by OU. So as an administrator, you can set this up by OU as on or off, so that binary option that we're all familiar with in the admin console. You can view the status of pending signatures and find completed contracts as an end user. Keep contract templates to initiate multiple e-signature requests. View an audit trail of completed contracts. Use custom text fields to request additional information from signers, such as job titles, email addresses, and more. And sign contracts for both mobile devices and PCs. So one of the things to think about here with this is Google continues to do a wonderful job at building into their applications features that you would have paid for in the past from a third-party software company. And I know I'm not going to name the one that we purchased in my previous job, but it was not cheap. And so this is a really cool added feature rolled into the the Education Plus license. And in the interest of time, I'm not going to go into what this looks like as an end user, but we will preview that, or I will show that once it's rolled out for all and people have had a chance to take a look at it. So look for that at a future admin briefing. And you can configure this within the admin console under Apps, Google Workspace, Drive, and Docs. So really cool new additional tool. How about Sheets? What's new in Sheets? Well, when you're, again, to this idea of building things into the home application structure within Google applications, this app sheet integration, much of this app sheet integration existed before, but it was just a little bit more cumbersome through the add-on process. And so this you can now set up automated workflows from Google Forms to trigger app sheet automations directly from form submissions. So I encourage you to, and this is available in all editions, but you can use Google Forms as a data source for your app sheet apps. So this allows you to easily collect data from forms and use it to power your custom applications. So again, you're creating actually applications. So one way in which I envision you could potentially do this would be a mileage application. So if you're doing any kind of mileage reporting, you're having your staff members within your IT department do mileage reporting. You could build an application with this integration, which would save them a lot of time, and then they would be able to just print out or download a PDF of their mileage and submit it for reimbursement. So just one of the many ways that this could be utilized. I also thought about some potential ones personally for budgeting, like how Corey needs an application, speaking in the third person, of course, so that he stops buying clothing and puts it on a budget. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, so slides. In slides now, just adding, I mean, this is a real simple one. We're all used to this editing, commenting, viewing function that exists in Google Docs. It now has come to Google Sheets, or excuse me, Google Slides. So really that just ability within all editions to edit, comment, and view text within and images that are brought into Google Slides. So just a nice new feature that exists and further expanding that functionality that we're all used to. Then chat spaces. Okay, so again, if you do have this turned on within your organization, Google continues to build out what is capable of, or what is possible. It would be better language there around what's possible within that application as a workplace collaboration tool. And so the newest feature to exist in all editions is you can have up to 500,000 people, 500,000 people in a space. And so you can mass or bulk import people, or you can use an API within your environment, depending upon how large your organization is. Of course, that's a very large organization, but we do work with very large school districts and post-secondary institutions. And so just if you kind of consider what's possible there from a collaborative ability, and then as an administrator, you have the ability to manage reported Google Chat content from the new moderation tool in the admin console. So there is within the admin console under apps, workspace apps, within the application of chat spaces, you have the ability to control some of these permissions. So just the simple fact that you could put this many people into a chat space should get your imagination going as to how you could utilize the tool. Security Center. Well, I'm not going to jump into anything new within the Security Center, and it technically isn't. What I'm going to talk about right now isn't in the Security Center. It's actually adjacent to the Security Center. But Google has rolled out something that we're going to talk about next month. So I've got this lovely coming soon banner on. I'm quite proud of my slide layout here, so I'm just going to take a second to admire it. But the data controls that are being built into Google now that go beyond just, hey, what data do you have? Also taking a look at, Matt, I'd be happy to answer your question here in just a second. We have a Q&A at the end though that I may direct you to. So if you wouldn't mind jotting that question down, I can come back to you. But this new, oh, that's all right, Matt. I've done that many times, okay? But this new data center will just look at compliance, data compliance, and save Google admins a great deal of time on whether or not their data is compliant with state, local, and national, and even international compliance. And there's a lot more to this data area as well. You'll find it in your admin console underneath the Security Center if you want to start taking a look at it. And so really an exciting thing that's going to be coming in future admin briefing, at which time I'll also share which license level you need to carry to have this, but I did want to preview that. In Google Meet, I just tried this out this morning. You can try scrolling, and zooming in a Google Meet. The best way to do this scrolling and zooming function is to have open what I have right now, which is presenter view in a Google Meet. And then ideally, you'd have a second monitor going with the slide deck that you're presenting and working through. And then you'd be able to use the mouse functions to scroll and zoom on what is on the screen. And this, in this type of a format, when we're looking at slides that require you to be able to see the whole thing, it is not as significant or important. But if you think about, like, if you were presenting a slide deck that, for example, had a map on it or had a primary source. So one of my favorite primary sources was the westward expansion painting that you may have all seen from the late 19th century of the angelic woman facing west and manifest destiny, in that conversation that we had in my American history class about what all of that meant and the significance for westward expansion in our country's history. I would have loved to have been able to zoom in on particular parts of that if I was teaching that remotely. Okay, and now Classroom. I want to hand this over to Lindsay. Lindsay's going to take us through some of the new features that exist within Classroom that administrators need to know because they're going to be in the classroom environment for instructors going forward. So I'll mute myself, and Lindsay, you're up.
Okay. You got
Yeah, I'm moving along. Sorry, I was on the wrong monitor. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So first thing is, now in your Education Plus and Teaching and Learning Upgrade, Classroom supports grade category and co-teacher imports. So prior to this, you were able to import your students from Classroom using your SIS. But now you can also pull your grade categories, and if any of those classrooms or courses have co-teachers, that will import as well. It's automatically available for domains connected to Aspen, Infinite Campus, Skyward SMS, and Skyward Cumulative. So if you have any of those, that is built in. There is nothing that admins need to do. As long as it's already connected, you're good to go. And what your teachers would do is, in their classroom, they would go to their class settings in that grading categories, and there's an import from SIS option. They would do that. It would pull in their grading categories and any co-teachers. So quick and easy for teachers, but it's a really cool upgrade for them. So yay. This one I think is probably my favorite. You can now insert images into practice sets. I love practice sets. I love that you can do this. You have these little questions that you can get hints and all that. The whole concept is phenomenal, but what it was missing was the ability to have those graphic pieces added, like charts and diagrams and things like that. Now that is built in so that you can add images to this, which, yay, I love. It can be pulled from Google Drive or from your computer. And then this is my favorite. If they've already got forms created with questions and it's got images in there, when they import those forms, the images will populate. So awesome. Again, this is Teaching and Learning Upgrade or Education Plus. It's on by default. So again, admins, you don't have to do anything to turn this on, but for teachers, they have to be in that verified teacher group in order to have their classroom have that feature and functionality. So I'm so excited about this one. Yeah, this is for Teaching and Learning Upgrade and Education Plus. So yeah, practice sets, you don't see that in the free version of Google. It's in the Teaching and Learning Upgrade and in the Education Plus one. So the next one is Read Along in Google Classroom, and I do like this one as well. Now, I will tell you, there is a Read Along website that is free. This, what I'm talking about now, is the classroom integration with Read Along. And again, this is the Teaching and Learning and Education Plus upgrade. But you can go to that Read Along website and still have access to this. But in Classroom now, you have the ability to do assignments with a book from this Read Along option in here. It's covered under Workspace for Education Terms of Services. Now, you do have to enable this service in the admin console for your users to have access. So admins have to enable this. But once it's enabled, when teachers go to create assignments in Classroom, Read Along is going to be one of their options that they can do. And there's fiction and nonfiction books. There's over 800. There's publishers like Haggerty and ReadWorks. You can categorize it by Lexile levels, grade levels, phonics. So it's easy to differentiate because you're doing it as an assignment. You can assign different books to different students or groups of students, which I love. And then some of the books even have comprehension questions built in. And as the teacher, you're going to get analytics on how your students did for these assignments, which is fabulous.
And just a quick piece on the admin side, you would enable this within, of course, the Google Workspace app and Classroom.
Yes. Okay. Another one that I like is, and again, this is Teaching and Learning and Education Plus. So if you have the free version, you probably don't see the ability to do the interactive YouTube assignments where you can pull in a YouTube video and do questions where you can make your own. Now, there are going to be some, when you do a search for a video, if you see this little spark icon that says 6 suggested questions, it's going to have some AI generated questions that will help teachers' lives, make it a little bit more easier. So it'll generate some questions for them. And then y'all, these are editable. They can edit, they can delete as needed, they can add their own, but it just gives them a jumping off point for the video to do. The only thing for admins is YouTube has to be enabled as an additional service for your educators. Okay, these last two things have to do with developers. So if you're a developer, this is your area. Google Classroom add-ons are generally available to Workspace developers. So you can, like right now in Classroom, if you have the Teaching and Learning and Education Plus upgrade, when you go to create assignments, you can do add-ons with things like Nearpod, Kahoot, ReadWorks, IXL, and it gives you a way to build in activities from those different sources without having to leave the classroom environment. So it's all in one place. And so if you're a developer, you can develop add-ons to allow teachers to discover and attach content, preview the content as a student, review responses to activities, and then save time with automatic grading. So for admins, you have to have Classroom add-ons enabled for teachers to use, but for developers, you build this out in the developer program, and then once it's developed, you can add it here, and teachers can pull in your add-ons. Okay, grading period APIs for Google Classroom. Again, in developer preview, you can now build out those grading period APIs, like creating, modifying, and deleting grading period on your courses, reading those grading periods, reference and set them on coursework resources, and then apply those settings to existing coursework items. So you have to, again, be part of that Google Workspace developer program. And then once you do that, you can build this out and then use the Classroom API to integrate those apps there for you.
All right, so I'll talk a little bit about Gemini. I'm going to try to put the brief in admin briefing. I know we're running short on time, but and I also want to say that we're going to have a whole big webinar on July 23rd just about Gemini, just for this whole audience of everybody who's here, to kind of tell you how Gemini is going to be relevant to teachers, and explain how we access the premium Gemini and how it fits into our world of Workspace. But I was at ISTE. I talked to a lot of teachers, a lot of IT people, and what I hear overall is that teachers are still very skeptical and perhaps even a little fearful and anxious about using AI. So my first recommendation for teachers is to jump into the free version of Gemini, which is gemini.google.com, and give that a try. Now, while that won't have the magnificent integration within your Drive and within your Workspace, it's going to get them started so that they can see how easy it is to save time and to start, sort of automating or helping with those administrative tasks that teachers spend like 20, 30, 40% of their weeks doing. That's not why teachers decided to teach. I mean, that's not why I went into teaching, to have like 30% of my week spent on administrative tasks. So like once they get started with AI and with jumping into even the free version of Gemini, they could really start to wet their whistle and see how helpful it is. But we'll talk a little bit about some new features have just come out in July. We'll go forward, Mr. K. Cool. So, did you want to just talk about this?
Yeah,
one?
I'll just speak to this basically. Just the presence of Gemini in the on the administrative side, knowing that should you choose to roll out Gemini Enterprise or within your environment, there will be administrative controls, and we will touch on those at a future date. But just really wanted to make sure that you knew that those will exist. As you can see underneath the apps, on the menu on the left side, control menu will be generative AI or Gemini, and you'll be able to turn it on and off by OU and have all the functions that you're used to in the admin console. Then speaking to the audit log function. So again, admins, when we talk about the specific functionalities, admins will be able to see audit logs in Drive for activity triggered by Gemini for Workspace. So this is just basically showing you that, for example, if Gemini accesses data from files in response to a user query, an item content accessed event is created. So basically within your audit log function in Google Admin, you'll be able to also pull logs of Gemini usage. So where that comes in, and it's on by default only, where that comes into play, of course, is just helping to determine and tell the story of what AI is doing within your Google environment, should you purchase it and have it turned on. And then this slide is just about the fact that you can express interest in Gemini for Google Workspace. So really, if you and this resource will be shared as a follow-up. Kate will send it out, and there's a link within this slide. But if you just take a look at express interest, or you just Google express interest in Gemini for Google Workspace, you'll be able to come across this link and basically request or seek information on Gemini that will come to you through your work email address. So just to, if you want a little bit more, or you want to learn a little bit more, you can request that now. And then that comes with information as well on what administrators can and cannot do. So just making sure that you know that that's kind of what that's all about. And then finally, that Gemini is in the side panel of Gmail soon, or that's going to be coming out. If you have that if you do purchase Gemini, it will be in Gmail as well, recommending and building out potential communications for you. So giving you suggested responses, giving you suggested emails for briefings, asking you questions or asking it questions, and having that dialogue with the AI if you've used AI at all, within your Gmail environment to save administrative time. So to save time for staff members, I know that I, as an IT director, spent a great deal of time in email, and I spent a great deal of time in email as a classroom teacher as well. So again, admins will be able to turn this on by default, or it's turned on by default, but the admins will be able to turn it off if need be. And that's, of course, all of these are if you have Gemini Education and Gemini Education Premium add-on. So
Corey, I would also add that this is such a good example of how this will save time for teachers who are, swamped with emails that they have to really, digest and know what's going on with parents and students and grades and policy changes and things like that. So, I mean, really in any field, you could be using this, but particularly in education where, you really have to do a lot of communicating and you only have so many hours in the day.
100%.
Moving forward.
Same with docs, sheets, slides, and Drive. Anything you want to mention on that, John?
Yeah, just, I mean, again, this is just going to save time. I mean, for example, like with Sheets, with the integration in Sheets, you know, you're going to be able to analyze student performance in a way that's less time consuming. It's going to simplify the process because there's, you know, data analysis tools and the ability to do table creation and, you know, formula generation, which is going to allow teachers to kind of focus on actionable insights and do it quicker and, you know, more expeditiously. And then I don't really understand this slide. I was scratching my head looking at this slide earlier, but I do love it. I still love it so much. It's telling a story, but I'm not sure what the story is.
Yeah, it's definitely telling a story, and it's coming from Google's rollout at ISTE of Gemini, and it's really kind of that nice one-pager look at what's coming by way of Gemini for the classroom environment. So definitely cool things coming. And for those of us on the administrative side, the lower right-hand corner there, you should draw your attention, which is new integrations on the student information system data passback side, and classroom add-ons, and then of course security.
Awesome.
All right, so I'm just going to speak briefly, and I promise to take about 30 seconds to a minute here. I just wanted to remind our friends on the call that we do Google audits, and that's basically your Google admin or your Google domain and auditing that Google domain. And you know, with current cybersecurity threats, why you might do this, of course, is just to make sure that your environment, that your cybersecurity structure within your Google Workspace environment is primed to be able to meet the threats that you see on the screen here. And Google continues to drive attention and resources towards cybersecurity. So we all know the threat that's out there, and the costs and the sweat, the beads of sweat that we as IT leaders have thinking about cybersecurity threats. And so a domain audit is basically a way for you to derive, and thank you, Kate, information on your Google domain environment and whether or not you have that set up with best practices in mind. So it informs your technical and instructional teams to best support teaching and learning in your institutions. And the cool thing about this is it's a back and forth. It is a pre-planning meeting. It's a discovery process. It's a process that that you are intimately involved in with our Google admin domain audit team. So lots and lots to derive from this, and our in-depth review will look at 4 key areas and over 200 settings checked. Okay, and primarily in the four main areas: security, domain, organization, and applications. And who's it for? Of course, many people on this call. But I also want to drive attention to the fact that it's also for cabinet and school leadership teams, right? One of the things here would be if I'm trying to make a case for why we need expanded licensing within our Google domain, you know, say we're trying to make the case for Education Plus and Teaching and Learning Upgrade, being able to determine how our Google admin environment is functioning and what could optimize it by way of an audit would be a great way that you could be able to bring that case and that story forward to district stakeholders. And so with that, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. And the other thing too to mention while I'm on the screen here is that we also offer boot camps. So Google admin boot camps in many different formats. We could speak more to those in the future call, but those Google admin boot camps are designed to help IT leaders and super admins within an organization to thank you, Kate, within an organization to receive training that would equip them for Google admin certifications that are industry level certifications that they can use to build their resume and build their skill sets within an organization. So yeah, we do have a Google boot camp on July 24th and 25th. Should you be interested, and that is virtual. And thanks, Kate. You can grab your seat with that link. Should you be interested in doing that boot camp, I look forward to seeing you then. And thank you for your time today. I think the final thing would be Q&A. Kate, did we want to bring any questions forward to answer here?
Sure. So there were a couple questions around Gemini, and John, it looked like you answered one of them, but maybe it would be beneficial for the group if you just kind of gave your quick spiel about it vocally. So
Sure.
the question of what the difference was between Gemini and ChatGPT and why that might be a better choice for education.
So I think if you're talking about the free version of Gemini that anyone can go access, then in most ways it's very similar. It's going to operate very similarly to Chat. Obviously there are differences to both of those products, but I think that, in the interest of brevity, those are very similar. If you're talking about a premium, a paid edition of Gemini that would work within your workspace, it's going to be about that integration. It's going to be about its ability to work with, your drive and your documents and all the information that you have. And it's going to pull from that based on your queries and your conversations with, with Gemini. So I think it's going to really utilize all of your data and all of your, what you have that exists in Workspace in sort of a meaningful way, which is why, I think it's just going to be so powerful for teachers, because teachers will be able to just, ask Gemini to come up with things about their entire classes in ways that administratively would take hours and hours, can turn into tasks that take 20, 30 minutes. I hope that answers that question.
That was great. Okay, and then one more question from Gus. He asks, if we implement any AI applications, we need the FERPA compliant version of Gemini. Shall we reach out to you folks to turn that on, or is the FERPA compliant version, or can the FERPA compliant version be turned on within the admin console?
I'm going to lean on one of the more admin-y friends on this call while I feverishly look up that answer.
Yes, deflect. Very good. As far as the granular level of FERPA compliance in a binary on-off structure environment, I am not 100% sure on that. Now we can look that up and we'll share that at our next briefing. So that's one thing, that nobody knows everything, and a lot of the stuff is moving very fast. So we will look that information up and let you know whether or not that's FERPA. And so if I'm understanding the question, it's not just whether or not you can turn it on, which that already. John looks like he found some stuff. It's more around the FERPA compliance. Is that correct?
The question?
Yes.
I believe so. Yeah. And the ability to be, turning it on or off or whatever. But it looks like these are both two Google resources that should probably, I assume, answer that question, I hope. Oh, thank you, Brian.
Yeah. And I think a part of that too will be part of that, will be the data conversation and how data compliance is rolled into this. So I think it's two things that help us guide that part of the presentation for our next admin briefing, which is actually less than a month away. So that's fantastic. John shared some resources, but we'll get a direct answer to that for our next briefing.
And I also want to, again, sort of plug that really Gemini-focused webinar that we'll be having on July 23rd. We'll try to have all those answers for those questions for you, as well as a lot more. Really want to speak to how we could educate our educators, all of the teachers that, that the people on this call work with, to really get them interested and excited in AI and Gemini and understand what it's all about and how it can help them and ultimately help the school and help students. Awesome.
Great question there from Ruth. Kate?
Ruth, to answer your question, we do not have a registration link yet for that, but we'll be sending it out to this whole group, as well as kind of making it more publicly available. So you can just keep an eye on your inbox for that, and you can register in the next couple of days. All right. Well, there are no other questions. Thank you, Lindsay, Corey, John, Scott, and of course, everybody who hopped on the call today. We're so happy to have you here. This was probably a little more fun than it should have been.
No, it needs to be fun.
Yes.
It was going to be fun.
The appropriate level of fun.
Yes.
The next admin briefing is on August 8th at 11 o'clock. Same time, same place. We will see you here in a month.
So I apologize. That is the wrong date on the screen. That should be August 8th, not August 1st. So please mark your calendars, and thank you very much, Kate.
All right.
Hey, see you all then.
For
Thanks
your
for doing
time,
that.
Everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.